I think that we're live. Alright, so if you do watch this in the future, we did wind up making the 200 subscriber special into a series, and part of it's going to be a live stream that we're doing right now because I got bored and went mad scientist in my garage, which I just do sometimes. I just kind of get bored and go mad scientist in my garage. And I started playing with this new radio that I got, and bought it on Amazon, and it is this little Redvis MB4. It's got a front-firing speaker on it. Everything about this thing, the craziest part about this radio is that, like, everything you touch on it really feels quality. Like, it feels like a modern radio. And the components, it's mostly surface mount components, which is interesting. They're hard to work on, but I don't feel like this is a radio that you need to work on that much. They are not expensive. I think that all in all, between the radio, I got the one with the antenna kit. I think this one was $112 total out the door, if I remember correctly. It might be a little bit more now, because trade is a little weird out there. You know, getting stuff across the ocean, not the easiest thing. Strait of Hormuz is closed, or whatever the hell. I don't know, man. When I got it, it was next day shipping because they had a pile of them in a warehouse here in the United States. And these Retevis radios, I'm going to get a couple more of these bad boys, I think, because they come even a little bit smaller than this. This is a beaut. Nice and small. Look at that nice heat sink on the back of that bad boy. I really dig that. And the reason for the heat sink is interesting because the little radio here has variable power built into it. If you go into its service menu, you can change that stuff around. And it's kind of cool. Kind of cool stuff. So we're going to crank this bad boy up. So I got the kit, and it comes with this really nice magnet mount antenna, like surprisingly good for something that came with a kit. I'm really impressed with the antenna that comes with the Retevis radios. Now, you can get them, when you add this into your kit, it's about $25 more. It's about $25 more in that Retevis kit, but it's kind of a beaut. So it's a center-loaded antenna as opposed to a base load, which most of these antennas are base-loaded. So even your more expensive stuff like your Sirio antennas or your Wilson 1000, whatever you got, most of them are base-loaded antennas. The one that came with the Retevis radios is interesting because it has that center coil, which is going to pick up your radiation pattern off of the roof or the hood of whatever vehicle that you got it on. So you're picking your radiation pattern up further off of that vehicle, and theoretically this is going to make it a little bit further transmit, theoretically. Either way you look at it, it is a magnet mount antenna, and it has all of the limitations of any magnet mount antenna. But the ones that this came with are super nice. I mean, I'm just really digging it. And so I've been out here in the garage, kind of. Here, let's put this right there. So, a car behind me here, I just stuck it on the roof of the car there. So I've been playing with this new radio, the Redvis MB4, and it has the front-firing speaker on it, which is awesome. And it has a really big display compared to some of the other Redvis radios have a much smaller display. And everything about this thing, let's get that turned on and take a look here. So we have power down here in the corner. So this display here showed a US, and that means that we're on the US bands. Now, you can change the band on this radio to be on the UK frequencies, on the UK channels, on the India channels. I think there was a total of 6, if I'm not completely crazy, different countries' channels. You can put that on. I have it on the US because I'm listening in the US. Channel 6, the Super Bowl. And, it just kind of is a little, what would you call it? It's like a soundtrack for radio nerd bullshit. But I think that the star of the show really is that antenna because of it's not expensive. It's only about $25 more when you add it into the kit. And then when you do that, um, you're getting about a $50 antenna. Just from the quality of the field, the quality of the build, and finding like go look for a mid coil antenna. Go find one. They don't make that many antennas that are just for consumer use that aren't base loaded, and it just is what it is. And so it's really interesting. And with that thing, I just have stuck on the hood of this car back here. The reception and the clarity of this radio are really impressive. Here, let's get you turned a little bit. Beautiful. Now, you can run through the channels. This is going to be Mexico. So channel 9 is kind of the calling channel that they use in Mexico because I'm on the Gulf. Instead of getting emergency channel 9, we get more of the Mexican calling channel on channel 9. They also sometimes use channel 5, but they've been more and more on channel 9 lately. But the clarity of your reception on this radio using that mid-load antenna is very impressive. Very impressive. Let's see what we got. I haven't heard anyone on 19 today, but that's actually really a good thing. 19, you're supposed to kind of be saving it for truckers to use. No one does. Everyone just talks on it now because truckers aren't on the radio anymore. And if they are, they're on GMRS. Usually they just run their their cell phone. They don't have to worry about anybody bitching at them on the radio, cursing at them. You just rarely, sometimes you still see antennas. Okay. Sometimes you still see antennas and stuff on their trucks, but it's really rare that anybody is running a radio these days on there. That sounds terrible. But it is for the money. For the money, I really don't think that you could beat this. These little Retevis radios. And I picked up the MB4 because I wanted that front firing speaker. In the kit, you actually get the little DIN mount, which is super nice. This is going to be going in my ride. The whole thing about it is that I'm putting that in the place where like my dash cab computer used to be, because that thing's gone. So I'm just going to slip that DIN mount in there and put the radio in there and call her good. I did pick up, and so I know I just like totally went off about that Retevis antenna, but I'm gonna mount this Serial Megawatt 4000 up there. I did measure. Look how big that thing is. I did measure, and even on top of my escape, I still get like 6 inches of clearance underneath of like 6 inches of clearance underneath of a standard overpass. So so I'm going to put that bad boy up on top of the truck, and in order to do that, we have a mount around here somewhere. I have a triple magnet mount, but I have no idea where I stuck that bad boy at right now, actually. But I have a 3 magnet mount that we're going to go up there with the Serial Megawatt and see how that runs. Hopefully, down here in Florida, the swamp air, the salt air isn't gonna eat it. It ate 2 of my antennas so far since I came down here. So that's been exciting. Anyway, let's take another listen here. We're going to turn the squelch. Our squelch here. The squelch is also variable. You could change, in the service menu, you could change the amount of squelch that this dial actually runs. I haven't heard Motormouth Mall on here yet. That's what I've been waiting for. There's 2 guys that I like to hear when I come on here, and that is Mr. BBI out of Idaho and Motormouth Mall out of California. That's who I want to hear. I am all the way across in, we'll see. I'm just a Q&A sticker, song that makes you, no, I'm not gonna, dude, when you do these, okay, so when you run a YouTube channel and you do stuff like lives every once in a while and stuff like that, YouTube does this thing where they make recommendations on what's going to make your channel grow, and people are going to watch your channel if you do this, and it's really cool. I'm not disrespecting what they're doing. I'm not saying that they're wrong either, but what I am saying is that, like, I don't live stream often enough to know that these things are going to pop up, and so when little things pop up at the bottom of the screen, I think it's somebody talking, because it pops up right in the same place where someone in a chat would pop up. So that's it's kind of weird. So right in chat, YouTube will jump out like this, hey, post a Q&A question. Like, what song makes you dance? No, I'm cool. Anyway, so the MB4 also has this big heatsink on the back. Now that heatsink is because you can go into your radio, and with a small modification that I'm not going to say because the FCC would probably not like me telling you how to do it, but with a very small modification to the radio, your radio goes from an accepted FCC power radio, which is a maximum 4-watt dead key radio. So that a dead key, also known as a dead carrier or just a base carrier, is 4 watts. So when you key your radio, it can be no more than 4 watts to be FCC compliant. In these Retevis radios, they do have some modifications that you can make, both inside the radio and also in the service menu, and they go to a maximum of a 20-watt dead key radio, 20-watt carrier, and then you have, I believe it goes up to 30 or 32 watts total transmit peak. At least from what I've seen, 32 watts of a total transmit peak power. So that means that your information envelope is about 10 watts. You have the 20-watt dead key, which is going to be what's punching you through everybody talking. And then you have about 12 watts of information. So that's going to be what they actually hear. So when you're running a radio like this, sometimes you'll find that you are not modulating, okay? Since in the United States we mostly use amplitude modulation or AM radios, the way that the information is carried changes the strength of that envelope of those sidebands, right? So you see radios that are sideband radios that have the information without the carrier on it, right? It's just an information wave. 2 SSB radios can talk to each other, but an information like something with a carrier can't talk to a single sideband radio. And if you hear a single sideband radio on a regular AM radio, you don't get, it sounds like, you might get some of the words, but it sounds like somebody's beating on a washboard, kind of like staticky, and it's that's if you hear that on your radio, usually that's somebody on a sideband radio, and they're going to be up in the higher channels, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, around in there, and you're just not going to hear it. Anyway, so because everything here is AM, usually you get about a 4-watt carrier, which is your key, and then you run it about right around 12 watts of information off of that carrier wave, right? You will hear people on the radio where you can really hear their signal. You can really, they're a strong signal. It'll take over your radio, but you can't really hear what they're saying very well. But that means that they have their dead key turned way up, their carrier wave is turned way up, and there's no information waves off the side of that carrier. So you're getting an almost like a really strong sound that takes over your radio, but you can't hear what they're saying very well because they have that strong carrier wave and low, what they call swing, right, modulation. When you get a radio from the factory, usually they're at about 80% modulation. If you have I have a pile of radio equipment. If you have that equipment, like an oscilloscope, you can change your modulation up to 100%. You don't really want to go over 100. I mean, you can overmodulate your radio. A lot of guys do, but it sounds like shit. So it'll make big noise, but it'll sound terrible, right? It'll just not sound good, and you get the echoes and you get the weird. And once you start overmodulating, you can start bleeding off into other channels. So if you listen to some guys that will run everything full tilt, like on the Super Bowl, they'll run everything full tilt, and these guys are operators that know what they're doing. So they're running full tilt, but they're running full tilt with their hand on it, if that makes sense. And they're overmodulated, and they'll bleed off. Their harmonics will bleed off into other channels. Some of the radio operators don't do that. Like Motormouth Mall, you really don't hear him on the extra channels and stuff. But like if you watch his videos and things, that dude's a mad scientist. I don't know, man. And some of these guys have been out here running those big radios like that for 30 and 40 years. If you go check out this channel, Mr. BBI, he is an excellent YouTube channel for radio. His focus himself isn't so much on the CB radio itself exactly. He focuses more on other aspects of Citizens Band radio. But one of the biggest things that he did that I think is really important and very cool is he did a bunch of interviews with operators, like historic operators that you would hear on Channel 6 on the Super Bowl. And the whole series, the spoken word series that Mr. BBI did, one, you're not going to get that kind of information from these guys because they don't talk about the things that they do, because the things that they do are of gray area legality at best, but they'll talk to him because he knows them, and he comes with he's been vetted, right? So he has the blessing of people in the radio world to be able to talk to these guys. So if you go over there and check out his channel, you check out that spoken word stuff, we're talking guys that have run radios with tube amps where the tube is as big as your calf muscle. You know, I mean, just huge tubes, like from old, like it's almost like they're running an AM radio station itself, right? If you go and you go look at like the old Border Buster radio stations, right? So the X radio stations, XERF, XORG. There's a million. There's like 6 or 8 what they called the Border Buster radio stations, and because they were outside of the FCC's jurisdiction, they could run as much power as they wanted at any time of day. Because AM carries further at night, at least it seems to. I don't know about ground wave, but definitely from a radio station. All of these stations are forced to lower their power. All the AM stations have to lower their power legally at night so that they're not kind of jumping all over each other. These X stations from the border, all through the 50s and 60s and 70s, kept it cranked at 50 kilowatts, 100 kilowatts. But these guys that run the really big stations, they're running 10 kilowatts of power with an AM radio in front of it and talking coast to coast, around the world, really. And they know what they're doing. Like, sometimes you hear guys that get on there and blow their stuff up, but the ones that know what they're doing don't really, I mean, it's radio, something's going to break. But a lot of those guys, they know so much stuff, and they know the history of the way that it all worked, and they saw when it was all tube amps, and they saw when everything went to NPN transistors, and they saw when everything went to MOSFET transistors, which it still hasn't really done, but it can. So that's probably the work that BDI did on that spoken word series is probably the most important video series in the history of American two-way communication. It's so subtle. Like, it's not like he made some big fanfare about it. It's very subtle. He's just like, oh, hey, we're going to go see my friend Yellow Jacket, or we're going to go see my friend 777, or we're going to go see my friend over, and he makes these videos talking with them about the history of their station, their history in radio, who they got, introduced to the game by, and stuff like that. And it's just a really neat series. I didn't mean for this whole live to turn into talking about Mr. BBI's radio series, or his series on CB radio operators, but I don't mind it. It's really good. I'm sitting down here sweating like a pig because because this is Florida, man, and it's like 99% humidity right now. It's crazy talk. Let's take a listen to this thing again. I want to run through the station one more time. So the Redvis MB4. It's crazy how clear it sounds. So that's the antenna that came with the kit. That mid-load Retevis antenna probably adds $40 or $50 worth of value to the whole thing for $25. 17 is going to be like in the Northeast. On a day when there's a little skip, they hear that noise that right there, that kind of really annoying humming. That is probably two stations that are close together trying to key on top of each other, right? A lot of times these guys on these call channels, they get in a measurement contest, if you will. They're trying to measure their stations against each other, and when they do that, you get them keying down on top of each other, and it makes that nasty humming noise. That's why I turned it down, because it's probably terrible for video. I have no idea. I haven't heard it on a video before. I'm looking at these Retevis radios, and I'm seeing things that are built inside that are pretty high quality. They do FM AM, so they do the new mode that a lot of people aren't really using, but in the United States, FM is new to us over the past few years. So that's cool. You get FM and AM. They just recently took one of their chassis, a little bitty chassis, and they made a single sideband radio with it. And that's going to be like my next radio purchase. It's going to be that little single sideband radio. I'm hoping that Retevis can kind of fly under the radar for long enough to keep those things going until I can purchase it. Because there are a few things with these radios that could make them FCC non-compliant. One, it is very easily modified from a 4-watt dead carrier to a 20-watt dead carrier. You go in and change a few things, and the next thing you know, you have variable power. You can go into the service menu, crank your power up, and now you've got a 20-watt dead key, and you're modulating 30. And so that's a problem when it comes to keeping your FCC tag. Other stuff, when you go into that same service mode, you can put it on a bunch of different frequency spectrums. So like you've got the Australia band, you've got India, you've got the UK. I don't remember every single one. I think I might have the paperwork up here somewhere. Maybe, hopefully. It's the box it all came in. I might not have the paperwork on hand. But there are like 5 or 6 different frequency bands that are just built right in that you can switch between once you make a few little moves inside the radio. So that's gonna kind of hurt them from keeping their FCC tag. And the problem with all of that is that Amazon recently has kind of stopped selling radios and amplifiers that are outside of FCC regulation that can go on 11 meters. 11 meters is CB radio. So Amazon has kind of pulled back. They used to sell some factory amplifiers, and they used to sell some 10-meter radios that are easily converted to 11-meter radios, your Connexes and stuff like that. strikers, things like that, that are really high-powered, potent CB radios with a snip of a cable and an alignment, right? So you go in the radio, change a jumper, align the radio, and now you're on 11 meters, except you're running 100, 150, 200 watts straight off the radio. And Amazon's kind of stopped selling that stuff. So what worries me about these Retevis radios is that because of the ease with which you can change them to do things that you might want them to do like that, Amazon might eventually kind of quit selling them. Now, Retevis does have their own website, but I went on the website. I don't think you can order straight from them. The company's in China, and the radios are based in commercial radios for commercial use in like Chinese trucking and Chinese commerce, right? So all the stuff that you're getting, the boards are generally a lot of like your MB3A board, your MB3B board, your MB1. All of these radios kind of have pretty near close to the same guts, the same motherboard inside, which is great, but you can still make all the modifications of the boards, and then the next thing you know, you're at FCC compliance. And so once Amazon does stop selling them, they'll stop selling all of them, which is kind of what they did with RM Italy. So RM Italy was like a factory. They made factory CB radio amplifiers. I mean, they said, it's 10 meter ham radio is what they'll say. But when you're selling like a Class C or a Class AB amplifier, and you say that it's 10 meter, it's 11 meter. Everybody knows that. These are like little well-known secrets that you're buying something to go illegally on CB, and I have some myself. I'm not disrespecting it. For scientific purposes only. For science. You have to own that kind of thing for science. But because of the change in the power, because you can change the power, who knows what Amazon will do. Maybe they'll get rid of them. Maybe they already did. I haven't checked up on them in a little bit. I just knew that I hadn't made the video about the radios, and I wanted to kind of make this video before we throw it in. The 200 subscriber special video is coming. We're working on that, and that's what I've been doing today, is kind of getting the stuff together for the 200 subscriber special. It's just that I knew that we hadn't really looked at this bad boy yet, and I just kind of wanted to show off a little bit because, showing off your toys is what boys do, right? So when I put this in the truck, we're doing the full DIN mount inside where the stereo used to be. I'm actually going to buy a single DIN car stereo for that Escape as well. The computer that used to run everything in the center console wasn't there when I bought it. And then someone had added one of those aftermarket like Android ones, only they'd driven a screw through the side of the little like tablet thing. So it was all jacked up and it didn't work anyway, so I pulled it out. So I'm probably just going to put a regular stereo in it and back up using my mirrors. And then I'll add this bad boy. This single DIN can go in there with that front firing speaker, which is really rare. One thing that I did skip that I wish I had thought of while I was doing this is that on the MB3 series radios, I believe the MB3B radio has weather bands in it. So it has built-in weather radio, which I think would be wicked cool for Florida. So instead of getting that, I got the nice front-firing speaker with the big display on the MB4, which is cool. Don't get me wrong, it's really neat. But it might have been really nice to get that weather radio on there. But I didn't. It's okay. And then I'm also looking at the sideband one, what I think that they need to do, like this is just if Retevis ever watches my live stream or something, I don't know. They have a radio built on a different chassis that is an SSB radio. It's the smallest sideband radio I've ever seen. All of it is software based. What they need to do, like if they do see this, what they need to do is, if they do see this video, take the chassis from the Redvis MB4 series with the front firing speaker, put the guts put the guts from the sideband radio in it, and then you've got something, right? So if you take the sideband radio and put that board and display into the front firing speaker Retevis MB4, and I think that your sales would you'd rival President, your radio would be a good rival for a President radio, right? So that could be really exciting, and I think that would be neat. So you take the sideband radio, and then add the guts of the sideband radio into the MB4, and then you have the big display place. You could put your frequency counter and all that stuff for your sideband radio in the big display spot, and you have the front firing speaker. It seems like a pretty good deal to me. I think that people would buy that. I know that I would have bought. I had the choice to buy the newer SSB one. It was $189 and it was brand new, right? They hadn't run it with the sideband stuff in it before, and so I thought, man, I really want that front firing speaker one for the car that I've got right now. So I bought that, and I'm not saying that I'm kicking myself in the rear end or wish that I would have bought the sideband model. But I could definitely say that if the sideband was in the chassis with the front firing speaker, I would have paid the full $189 for it without even questioning it. Because you have the best of all of the MB series stuff from Retevis at that point. You would have had sideband, the front firing speaker, the big display, the DIN slide in. Like, you would have had all of the positives of the MB1, MB2, MB3, MB4, and the sideband radio. You'd have had all the positives in one package, and I think that I would have just straight up paid the money for it. Alright. It's just crazy. Anyway, it's been about 30 minutes, and I'm getting ready to get off here. I'm going to do some more of these streams. We're working on the video for the 200 subscriber special. That's kind of what was happening here. I was just kind of doing some mad scientist shit out here in the garage. I hope that you all have an amazing day. I'm Z-Town Train. This is just a basic dude vlog, and I'm out of here. Hope you guys have a good day. Bye-bye.